Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Edmond Lee, Business Development Director of the Activation Group. Now, it's my pleasure to be your host today on this episode of Marketing Takeaway. On behalf of the Activation Group, I'd like to thank all of you joining us today as we discuss this interesting topic of human touch in a digital world. Let me give you a quick rundown of today's webinar. Firstly, we'll touch on our usual discussion and our topic of human touch in a digital world with our panel of industry leaders and with a Q&A session, of course. Secondly, as you can see, today's webinar is in this unique 3D virtual environment, which I'll walk you through the wonders of e-conference in a virtual world. Thirdly, we'll explore the evolution of chatbots with a human touch. Now, we're extremely humbled to have 3 industry veterans joining us today as our panelists. Let's welcome them now. Firstly, let's invite Ms. Pearlyn Yeo from Circles.Life to give us an introduction of herself. Hey, Pearlyn.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Hi, so I'm Pearlyn. I'm from Circles.Life. I am actually the design manager and focusing on customer and user experience and marketing of the brand in general. So just as a quick introduction about myself, I've been here for about 4.5 years in Circles.Life. And my first day, actually, interestingly, was the first day of Circles.Life public launch. So yeah, happy to meet everyone, happy to have a good discussion and sharing session.
Thanks, Pearlyn. Thank you. Now let's invite Mr. Kok Chung from dateideas. Kok Chung, hi.
Hi everyone, can you guys hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Hi, yes. Hi, I'm Kok Chung. I'm co-founder and chief growth officer here at dateideas. So dateideas here is a platform that really connects couples to the dates that they really want. And yeah, I've been in this role for about a year now. And yeah, I'm heading the growth, which means that I'm growing both the merchant community and at the same time growing the couples community. So to date, we have around like 50,000 people on Telegram itself. And then at the same time, we're pushing on an app that's happening next month, and do look forward to that. And happy to meet everyone and hope to see you guys.
Wow, 50,000 on Telegram. Very interesting. I know you've got something very interesting to share with us, right, Kok Chung? Thanks a lot.
That's
Thanks
right.
a lot. Now, next up, I'd like to invite Miss Peggy from Promo2 Asia. Hi, Peggy.
Hello, hi Edmond. Hi everyone. Nice to be part of the webinar. I'm the founder and the managing director of Promoto Asia. Promoto Asia is a boutique digital strategy and marketing consulting firm. We focus on 2 parts. One is general Asia digital strategy, mainly more focused on B2C, B2B2C business, helping our brand and MNC clients or SME clients to unlock the understanding of consumer insights and how the digital journeys are. The other part of the business we focus on is on China business by all means. It's under the brand name called Promote to China. So we help brands and business to strategize go to China digital strategy, as well as cross-border e-commerce services and marketing services.
Wow, that's really interesting. I'm sure Peggy's got a wealth of knowledge to share with us here, especially in the China market. Now, so thanks Peggy. So I'd really like to thank all of you. We're really honored to have all of you taking your time off your busy schedule to be with us today. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, now at any one point, please don't be shy, type in your Q&As and we'll try and answer them as we go along. So without further ado, let's dive right into our first question. What does brand humanity in a digital world mean to you and your brand? Pearlyn, like to take on this one?
Sure, I can start. Okay, so I think in a nutshell, brand humanity has 3 components for me. First is empathy, second is empowerment, and the third one is emotion. So I think having all these 3 components put together actually kind of helps you craft out a brand. I mean, actually, this is not just applying to the brand, because it also applies to like in your personal life. And let's say if we are talking about a brand itself, it's a lot on listening to the customers and also at the same time giving power back to our customers. So what does that mean? That means that we empower our customers by listening to them and also understanding their point of view and also understanding what kind of emotions help to trigger certain kinds of decisions. And that's actually kind of what Circles.Life is all about, because one of our main taglines is all about giving power back to the customers. So that is what we drive and what we stand for. Yeah, that's what brand humanity
No.
actually means to me.
Yep. Well, I like how you broke it down into those three attributes. And then, yeah, you really hit the point. It's very interesting that we really need to empower our customers and really listen to them. Peggy, what are your views on this?
Me, in brand humanity, apart from what Pearlyn just shared, which is a very good three key points, I would like to go a bit deeper. So to a lot of consumers or users on digital platform out there, nowadays brand is not just a logo or just a name of a business or enterprise. It needs to reflect more on the caring part. That means that the brand needs to understand in depth of the target users or target audiences on digital platform in terms of the emotion and in terms of where they are, what the preferences, what the personas are. In a nutshell, basically, it's a brand needs to do a deeper analysis using data, using all different touch points that can gather the information from, be it the frontline customer service or be it the Facebook data statistic or comments even, to unlock the so-called micro moments that the target audiences are most interested in.
Yes, that's really interesting. I like how the way you actually broke it down into a bite size or went really in depth. Yes, you're right. Kok Chung, I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, I think I resonate a lot with both Pearlyn and Peggy. I think empowerment is extremely important for us. Empowerment is actually also in our taglines about redefining dates and empowering relationships. We are in the relationship business, right? And that being said, empowering is extremely important because we do not just want people to have like a normal thing, right? Because that's just where they will just live a normal life. We want people to use our services to have a betterment, right? And that's where the ideas come into play. And the empowerment is extremely important because that's where it really makes us a lot more human. I also really like Peggy's point about micro moments, and that's exactly what we always like to highlight. Is because these micro moments that people have is what they actually connect with the service, and these micro moments actually start to shape their life. But on top of that, I think I would like to give a different perspective about breadth. And I think that's something that the ideas really believe in, is that we believe in staying with people in the long run. So I always highlight to my team about this idea of consistency. And I think that's what brand humanity means to me, is that we have to be consistently with our customers in the longer run. And that's something that I do see as what really makes in this technology world a bit more human for the brand itself. So I think that's something that the ideas really strongly uphold. And that's something that we constantly try to pursue with our customers.
Yeah, in fact, I'd like to hear further from Peggy, especially when you break it down to in-depth and then talking about empowerment. How does then data play a big role in all this?
Okay, I think digital essentially has to build on data-driven approach. Otherwise, digital will not really make a difference in terms of the business impact to a business or to a brand per se. After all, we live on a digital world right now. Everything is digitalized. Honestly, everything can be easily tracked. So when it comes to data, what kind of data we use to unlock the insight of consumer understanding? There are a few different sources. So let me roughly kind of categorize into about 2 or 3 buckets. First is your so-called your own data, be it your brand, what we call brand digital asset, your own website from Google Analytics, from your Facebook, from your IG, in terms of your data traffic, your agenda, even your comments that you can gather from your social media, your own brand social media. The second one, what we call is external data. By all means, a lot of brands out there, especially in our context in Singapore, a lot of SMEs in the past, when they launch a digital strategy, they may not really have a full set of digital practice. So that when they collect the data, even from their own so-called brand asset, it may be a bit limited. So in that case, then we need to go further to borrow or to tap on into further survey, especially in the consumer understanding that part. For example, I have this client, they want to sell this high-end gym equipment. So their target audience are considered a bit niche. For example, they have to have certain income level, they are in certain category in the society. So in that case, how do we find out what they really like? What kind of media touch point they normally and most actively on? You may not be able to get it from your own brand data because in the past, subject to whether you launch the right marketing campaign or not. So in that case, we need to go say research on consumer understanding. Even in some cases, we need to launch a study group and survey to survey those target audiences. Then we can unlock what they really like in terms of the lifestyle, in terms of the preferences, in terms of the digital usability and their preferences. And the third part, by all means, you will have to keep try and error, and then marketing is never a holy grail. So in that case, when you collect the data from your paid media or your earned media, which can be through influencer, can be through advertising, those are the all very valuable data point. Then we can look inside and massage through it. There are far more detailed and more scientific way to look into that in depth. But today, because of the time, I may not be able to share in such granular detail. But I'm happy to share with the audience afterwards. We can connect afterwards.
Yeah, see, I knew Peggy has got a wealth of knowledge to share with us. Now, speaking of data as well, Pearlyn, how does Circles.Life then use this data, especially external data, and then use it to communicate with your audiences or with your consumers and empowering consumers in that sense?
Yeah, so interestingly, I think very close to what Peggy has said, and a few of the things that she has actually mentioned about understanding the consumer. We also do a lot of this, and what we do is there is this program that we use internally that we call it the voice of the customer. And that in itself is a program. Yeah, it's a program internally that we do, that we focus on understanding what the customers are saying, and that actually involves many different touch points. So in terms of external data, definitely listening, like social listening tools, understanding what people are talking about us on social media, on reviews, because all these are important, right? We want us to be able to advocate a certain kind of expression that the company and the brand stands for. So that's something that we actually particularly take note of. With that, how we translate it is, of course, with due like research and due analysis and insights from all these qualitative and quantitative data. We translate those into either new product features that people are asking for, or certain kinds of features that we feel like is lacking in the market, or even thinking of new segments to fill, right? Maybe there are certain gaps that people are asking for that maybe perhaps Circles.Life has not tapped into, then we will start doing due research to start on these. Yeah, so this is how we actually, I guess, give power back by empowering them and listening to what they're actually saying.
That's interesting. Kok Chung looks like he's very eager to share more. Kok Chung, go ahead, man. Jump right in.
Yeah, I think I would like to just highlight that I think with regards to like data and technology and what kind of insights that you want to derive from, it's also very industry centric, right? For example, like in e-commerce, you want to understand like where their eyes are, where their mouse is moving, what kind of things are they purchasing, what time are they purchasing it, and many, I can go on and on, right? I can go forever. But I think on
Yes.
top of that, in this industry itself, I think we have to really choose where we put our effort into. I think that's something that we at dateideas really believe in, is that we really want to have that relational aspect. So actually for us, we do gather data, and like what Peggy mentioned, this data is extremely external, right? It's something that's a bit more extrinsic. It's not something that, we have really control with. So like, for example, like 29,000 profile visits, what does that really mean for us? And we can't really break it down. And we do not have that tech and we don't have that tools. But then again, we ask ourselves, do we really need it? And actually what we do here is that we actually put in a lot of effort to actually talk to our customers, like face to face, and even like making sure that it's something that we really devote a lot of time in like probably like product understanding, UX interviews, and also a lot of other different ways for us to really engage with our clients. And that's something that we really spend a lot more time in, and that's where we gain the true insights. However, there's always this barrier that, your customers, your clients will never tell you what they really want. And that's something that we have to overguess ourselves. And that's something that we are trying to make use of different data technologies. And that's why we are having an app. And that's where it really allows us to track a lot of this kind of analytics function. And that's how we can actually understand this data. So yeah, I think as a very young company, we are still a step behind from what Peggy and Pearlyn is representing, but definitely we'll reach there one day. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's always good to hear from young people, right? So, well, I've got a different insights towards this, brand humanity in a digital world mean. Now, when we look at it from the very surface of this question alone, it gives us the very impression that, technology has moved to such a rapid speed, right, that it's almost taken over the world. Pretty much so, changed the way we live and work, do business, go about our everyday life. But, as much as we think that tech has actually almost achieved that, when we break it down to bite size, well, no pun intended, when we actually break it down to bite size, we don't really see that happening that much. Not so much so yet, not so much of what's really happening in the movies. Now, our relationship with technology has so far always been on technology's terms. Now, we've had to adapt our behaviors to suit its limitation. Now, I'm just not talking about the digital age here, but technology stretching as far back as the advent of the printing press, right? Take, for example, the typewriter, or more specifically, the QWERTY keyboard, right? Now, this was developed back in 1880s when, typewriters were growing in popularity, and soon it quickly became the most prevailing writing interface, correct? Now, but its prevalence didn't come from the due of ease of use. It was because of its significantly how it reduces the jams in the machine. So even though with competing interfaces like the stenotype, which could produce words at a much greater speed, it was the limitation of technology that won out. And then due to the familiarity of this technology to the public, it soon found itself adopted into future technologies, all the way right up to our smartphones today. Despite today having no technological limitation, right? So from this example, you can actually see that traditionally it's always been humans who have had to adapt themselves to the requirements of machines instead of the other way around. Now, but in recent years, the tide has been turning the other direction because admittedly, technology has increased rapidly, yes, to enhance our lives and our social lifestyle. And humans being humans, we've grown accustomed to it being a part of our everyday lives, that we use it every day, constantly, every single moment. Right, constantly using it on the move, but to no particular pattern. That's so much so, technology now has to keep up with our behaviors, right? So then what happens? Tech then started building algorithms and AI to even learn about our behavior towards tech. And then it had to start adapting and changing and improving to suit us. So as we humans, again, humans being humans, we've actually now not only gotten used to the advanced technology, but somewhat in a way, our mindset has actually overtaken it. There's so much so, if I ask you, you really want to talk to an AI today? No, it's kind of like, it's old news talking to AI. We even feel that chatbots aren't really that helpful after all, when we need certain information. And it's still speaking to human is best. So no matter how far tech has come, human interaction is still very paramount when it comes to brands interacting with their consumers. So the bigger question is, I think, is for businesses and brands is how can brand humanity thrive along technology in this era of data and tech? And I think you three just nailed it. So as technology and data becomes more central in our daily lives and living in a digital age disruption world, consumers are expecting more and more out of brands than ever before. And they're expecting more personal, helpful, relevant message in this tech-savvy world. So, guys, let's have a look from the audience if there are any questions. Hey, guess what? There aren't any questions. So, meaning to say, what you've been sharing is literally nailed it on the nail's head. So, time check now. We still have a lot more time. So let's move on to our second question. Now, human interaction is key to a great online customer experience. What do you think of this statement, and how does this apply to your company's digital efforts? Peggy, I'm sure you have a lot to share about this one. Please go right ahead.
I'm always the first one to speak, is it? Okay, I'm sure my other two fellow speakers, they have also great information to share. Here, I just contribute a bit of my knowledge and also how I work with my clients, from the insight that we have gathered in the past. I think human interactions, honestly speaking, in nowadays overly digitalized world, to me, personally, I think is still essential. Because don't forget, who invented computer? We, human. And who invented all this, even AI, who came out with AI? It's human, it's us. So there's always people say, AI one day will overtake the brain power, human brain power. Yes, it could be a threat, especially in some work area. But I'm a bit more romantic, optimistic. I still think that human brain power will still overcome the threat from machine, from AI. But having said that, being a digital advocate, I also firmly believe that digital is here to stay, and digital will just further evolve better. So I think when it comes to human interaction in the digital world, how that means to a brand or business, and what that impact is, especially now, we are all in the COVID pandemic, and Singapore just pretty much finished the circuit breaker just 2 months ago. We have been through the experience of being locked down. You cannot go anywhere. And the only way you connect to the outside world is your digital device, on computer, on Zoom call, on all this. And a lot of my friends say, I'm so sick of it, which is true. And we are yearning for this kind of human touch, human connection. So when you translate to the business need, that means that when you serve your clients, even on the digital platform, don't forget, you still need to allocate someone, a warm body, like what Ong Kok Chung and Pearlyn also just highlight that. People still want to talk to a real person, right? When you have all this robot chat, and Edmond, you rightly point out, a lot of times we won't be able to get the information we want from the robot chat. So I think technology or AI can help a business or brand to understand further on what services they need to provide to satisfy the digital users. But don't forget the human touch part. So one keyword, a magic keyword I always highlight is O2, 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 O, become an infinity root. So this online to offline, back to online, this infinity root, the so-called, the whole setup need to gel together quite nicely. You cannot just have digital only strategy. You cannot just have offline strategy. Nowadays, you have to combine online, offline, and cross-line as well to become more integrated. So that's why we say it becomes more difficult to marketers. We have to work even harder because digital marketing is never linear. Digital marketing become a metric and become sometimes a maze. And hopefully we will not be lost in it. Yeah.
Well, I like how you started off taking AI as an example. Now, I'd like to hear, Kok Chung, in your area of expertise, have you all interacted with AI, and how AI can help with your dateideas platform?
So AI is definitely...
Will it work?
Yeah. Actually, it really depends, right? Like what you said, we have to react to data now. We cannot be the one that is actually like curating it. We cannot be the one that's actually like working on it. We have to react to data right now. We have to see where consumer trends are going, and then that's where AI comes in, because AI is then the one that actually is the one that understands the pattern and try to predict, right? And after that, you feed it. So that's where we have to really understand. But like the saying goes, right? Like, can AI actually detect a COVID pandemic and things like that? Answer is no. And that is something that we always have to keep in mind. There's always this kind of black swan events. There's a lot of like shock events that always come out, and they become anomalies that we can never understand, no matter how much algorithms we put in and things like that. So I think there's definitely a need of humanity, back to the word of humanity part to it, and there's something that we really have to understand a bit about it, and that's where we actually start to improve on algorithms, and that's where we can actually come in to devise certain inputs to add into the entire equation. So definitely you need the human side of it. Algorithms come in just to probably either make things easier or probably just catch a bit of like the kind of blind spots that we cannot address. But other than that, I think it's still the human that really decipher the trends and things like that. So like I will just give a very common examples for example, in dates nowadays, like how we want to, always try out something new, and now there's like coming out with local tourism, and that's where like your dates will be, right? This is something that's extremely new. You can never feed the AI to really learn it. And that's something that we have learned along the way. And that's something that we have to curate ourselves. We have to start thinking about it, and we have to do our own research. And that's something that AI will definitely not cover. I've spent 3 to 4 years previously in the AI industry. I've done AI chatbots and I've done other AI algorithm related stuff. I know how AI works, and I think that when it comes to industry, like what I said earlier, it really is very industry specific. You can predict like the next e-commerce item to buy. You can predict a lot of other different things, like probably like even weather and things like that, but you cannot predict what might always happen next and where the patterns might shift. Yeah, that's my own take on this.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. Pearlyn, in your case, I'm sure Circles.Life do venture into technology such as using AI and then how it interacts with your consumers, right? And then getting that great consumer online experience.
For sure, yeah. But I'd also like to add that as much as I want to rely on AI and algorithms and being fully digital and whatnot, but coming down to the roots of what I think both Kok Chung and Peggy has mentioned, even for ourselves, we do realize that sometimes having that human interaction is still down to the roots of what will help and serve our customers' needs. So one example is how we previously tested because we have a live chat in the app, and this live chat means that you can contact any CS agent at any point in time and someone reply to you. So we did actually think, why not, let's just maybe put a chatbot inside and then maybe they can filter it out first, things like that. But coming down to really knowing what our customers want and serving them immediately and helping them solve their problems, this is something that I think as like a brand itself, we learned that we want to be able to serve our customers, and by doing so, one of it is really putting real people, having them talk to real people, and having them being served by real people. And that's one of the key examples of, I think, how having such real life human interaction is one of the key components of customer experience. Yeah, because I feel like as much as I don't mind talking to bots sometimes, it's quite fun, but coming down to them trying to help me do something or like solve something, there's still that inherent barrier of entry that I feel like the entire industry needs to solve. Yeah. And also, I guess one interesting thing is that we have learned and we have evolved. So for Circles.Life as a brand, we are always advocate, yes, we are fully digital, we have no offline stores, things like that. But also learning from our customers that sometimes you do still need that physical interaction. So of course, pre-circuit breaker, we also did roadshows. We made sure that we had pop-up stores here and there, just to make sure that, say, if there's a certain segment of people who still want that interaction, we can provide. So to what Peggy said, O2O. So we give them the offline experience to go online, but they can still come offline, and then we bring them online again. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So then, how do you then strike the balance between online and offline and gel them together?
Like, of course, Circles.Life is still pretty much online throughout. Yeah, and our offline channels are usually more for campaign-specific things, or like, of course, when CB is over, we'll have pop-ups, roadshows here and there. Yeah, but we do advocate for people having a more seamless experience online.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. So in a nutshell, right, I'd like to share this thought. So technology has the power to transform customer interactions and add tremendous value. But the thing is, but at what cost, right? I mean, if you look at it, over the last 20 years, we've seen spending on digital transformation rise significantly as business invests in technology to enable greater personalization, purchase simplicity, or online customer care, or even self-service. Now, these digital touchpoints are defining the journey consumers have and with a brand, and each one is really critical to becoming either a loyal brand promoter or a detractor, right? So I think striking the balance between human touch and digital interactions is really tricky. So I think every company needs to continue to invest in both digital and human customer experience until they get it right. So in a nutshell, this is really a constant, continuous learning journey for every brand and businesses, don't you think so? Because trading human interaction for total automation may save money, but it's not going to win any retailer any points with consumers, right? So human interaction is definitely key to a great online customer experience. Now, we know this. But then, how do you apply this to your company's digital efforts is a bigger question. So first of all, I think you need to know your brand, know your consumers, know your customers, know what you're about, and then use technology to help facilitate that. But don't be distracted by technology. See it as an enabler to fulfill your purpose and help your customers. So you see, there are some big decisions in life, like buying a house, or maybe, for instance, buying a car. Now, these experiences can be streamlined through online technology, but it's important to recognize the extent and the role of technology should play. Because sometimes it takes human interaction to still gain the confidence you need to make this type of purchase decisions, right? So yes, technology can do a certain function or help to a certain extent, right? Talking about AI, Alexa is great for telling you jokes, playing songs, saying random things when you're watching TV. But do you really want Alexa to read out the features of that new car that you're considering to buy? No, right? So I say for example, take for instance, we've moved forward into the future, say 10, 20 years into the future, and buying a car, you know that's going to be a virtual cell, and it's going to be in a virtual world, right? Now, would you prefer Alexa to read out those features to you, or would you still prefer Supercar Blondie to do that? Kok Chung, I'm sure I know your answer to that. So human interaction is still key, right? Now, there's another good example back in 2018. I'm sure you guys know this. There's this example about Google Assistant AI making a hair appointment for a client via a phone conversation. I'm sure you all heard of that, right? Now, but think of it. This was back in 2018. Strangely, AI hasn't really gained traction then. So replacing a concierge desk at a hotel with a chatbot station is most likely not going to answer a customer's most pressing question, right? And in banking, say for instance, the most common example is when a customer becomes the subject of identity theft, or they've lost their credit card or their bank card. Now, this situation is the perfect example when humans want to talk to another human, because only another human can provide that reassurance they require. They need to hear everything's going to be fine from a human who will then take over the responsibility of finding that solution. All right? So now, not too long ago, Accenture actually conducted a global consumer pulse research with mainly millennials like you guys, and Singapore was included. And in their report, I think it's called a digital disconnect in customer engagement, they found that 83% of consumers in Singapore prefer the human interaction over the use of digital channels to solve their, customer service. So an insight here, not all millennials prefer to interact with chatbots, right? So in summary, I think by maintaining the human touch, brands have the ability to demonstrate humanity through core emotional and functional attributes, right? Because with technology, you can't really fully achieve that. Now, I'd like to leave you with a food for thought. Business should always remember that consumer experience or customer experience isn't just about conversion. It's an emotional path of trust and engagement that you need to take with your consumers, right? So guys, time check. We actually have time for a question. Let's go to a question. Let's take Lila Swan. She says, can you share an example of your company? Can you share an example your company used to connect emotionally with your consumers and attract them to your brand? Any one of you, who wants to go first, please? Peggy, you want to go first again?
Again, it's me. I would like to share one of the past case. I was helping a very large telco MNC when we were developing the digital transformation strategy. So this very large MNC telco, in the past, most of the marketing efforts are pretty much offline or what you call the traditional convention media. So when you meet all the target audiences now become millennium and more digital driven, they're kind of a bit of lost. So one thing is, at the beginning, they just spent a lot of advertising dollars on Google search, on Facebook, and on all the social media, but it generates very little result. So we take a deep dive into this issue and find out that there are a lot of issues that out of this finding, but I'm just going to highlight a few key ones that's relevant to your question. First one is the target audiences are not clearly defined. The telco tend to stay of thinking, package a service that, okay, recontract data times 2, they kind of talk about all this telco jargon. To a lot of consumers, especially when it comes to data age, they cannot understand what does that mean. I give you 10 gigabyte of data. What does that mean? But if you tell me I can have an unlimited serve, talk to my friend on Facebook, on Messenger, yeah, that probably register with me. So through the consumer understanding and consumer persona building, and as well as digital journey finding, then we help them to craft out what is the right consumer persona they should target to, especially on the digital platform. And then from there, we go into what they are thinking, what is the decision-making process, a lot of times related to the emotion. So one of the insights we find out is, for example, when they want to target a millennium who love to travel, and they were struggling with their roaming services. So roaming service now actually cut down a lot of revenue already. So the telcos are, how can we actually revitalize this segment? So what we are looking into is, okay, then what are these segments they love to watch it? I mean, what they're thinking, what their emotional part. So instead of we tell them, oh, you buy this, subscribe to roaming, you can roam 20 countries. Instead of telling that in advertising message, we flip it and say, jump out to Thailand for Chatuchak market right away without worry-free, something like that. So then we launched A/B testing on the Google advertising. So the result actually generate quite interesting. Definitely it's much more upside than the previous, quite dry kind of context. So in the meantime, they also launched this so-called native content. So I think this native content marketing, native content advertising becomes nowadays a bit more dominant than just come out of pure banner ads. Honestly speaking, right now I see a lot of Singapore-based SMEs or business, when they launch an advertising campaign on either on Facebook or on Google, it's still too much sales-driven. Again, it draws down to how much they do understand their target audiences and their emotion, their life, their lifestyle, etc. Once you unlock that part, then you will be able to come out the right message that actually can resonate their heart. So don't forget, even on digital platform, we are talking to a human. That's what I always highlighted. Yeah.
Well, see, that's a lot of insights and in-depth knowledge in there. Thank you so much. Now, quick time check. I think we may have time for one more question, do we? All right, so let's take this one from Carl Griffith. Now, how do the panelists reconcile data and insights in order to provide more personal connection with concerns over privacy? Pearlyn, would you like to take this one?
Sure. Yeah, I think especially from, let's say, from Circles.Life, because I mean, essentially we are a telco service. So
Yes.
in terms of understanding our customer behaviors, there's definitely data points that we can always take up. But with privacy clauses and with privacy statements in due, we do not cross that line for sure. So what we do instead is actually very close to what I was talking about just now, in terms of a lot of external data collection to understand and make that connection with our customers. So like an example of actually what I did, a project that I was running was that understanding our customers of who has actually joined us for less than 1 month. So what did we do for them? We did an onboarding journey for them. We did surveys for them. We did some interviews. We did callbacks, and we also did some do market research just to understand who they are. And because by understanding and collecting all these kind of data, and at the same time seeing like, oh, maybe these are the different channels that are actually bringing in our customers. By doing so, we're actually able to craft out a better customer journey all through together, taking all these insights and taking the data and putting them together. So I think like for us, especially in a digital world, privacy is something that is definitely very sensitive. So we try and we will not go down that route for sure. So that's why like even for myself, like I'm also quite a private person. So even like I don't like to share my privacy privacy stuff outside of like Facebook and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of how we kind of try reconcile that in other alternatives, because I think it's very important and it's very crucial for the business also.
Well, thank you so much. Well, you see, so much that we've learned in the short 30 minutes of this discussion. Now, before we move to our next section of this webinar, I'd really like to thank all our panelists. You know, Pearlyn, you've really shared quite a fair bit. Peggy, you've got a wealth of knowledge, like I said from the beginning. And Kok Chung, I always like your platform that you have. Maybe I should, hopefully my wife is not listening, but I think I should try it. So it is indeed really great to hear from all of you. You know, your insights are really, really important. Now, so thank you so much. Now, let's move on to our next section of our webinar. Stay, don't go. Well, we'll explore a 3D world of e-conferences. So welcome to our e-conference section of this webinar. From the panel discussion, we discuss how the human element in a virtual world makes the difference in the changing world of border closure. So technology today is advancing at a faster pace and is changing the way we live and work. More so with this current pandemic situation that has altered the business landscape totally to a different world we know today. Now, this has driven consumers to adapt to new technologies, thus pushing boundaries for businesses to embrace technology at different levels. At the Activation Group, we recognize this change and constantly provide our clients with the most creative and most innovative business solutions for their brands to excel. So during the circuit breaker lockdown, all events literally came to a grinding halt. Now, we had to go through a total new learning curve. We relooked at our business strategy and reinvented the way we work. So we saw an opportunity to take all our on-ground events onto a virtual platform. Hence, going virtual, the possibilities are endless on what we could do, ranging from virtual exhibitions to virtual conferences to virtual boardrooms, or even your AGMs and town halls. And going virtual meant a lot of customization that you could do. For instance, your virtual set designs. And we even developed a whole new digital platform called Engage e-concierge, which I'll take you through later. So in the past, for instance, when you had your normal seminars and conferences, our clients were very much limited with the budgets and what it can do. The number of packs in the main plenary hall, the design of the backdrop and space planning, number of breakout rooms and sessions, and limited amount of packs to what each breakout room can hold. But now going virtual, the numbers are limitless, from your main plenary to your breakout session to networking sessions. Now, just to give you a little in-depth on the whole production of these virtual capabilities, you probably think that going virtual is actually quite simple, but there's actually a whole team that works on it, ranging from the design team that literally, like I said, designs your whole virtual set, and this is really customizable. Pick your choice of any set that you want to be, whether it's a standing room like I'm in, or in a sitting newscaster room, or up on stage, or in a stadium. So again, the possibilities are endless. Now, the design team also helps with making sure your slides are well designed. Yes, we can even help you design your slides and what you want to present. Secondly, our audio and visual team, making sure that you look good in front of the camera, helping you with rehearsals. And right down to videos and music. So certain videos that you would like to feature in your slides, right down to the music that you may want to incorporate into your webinars. So for instance, during the login, before the webinar starts, from a countdown clock to the animated video, and even music in the waiting room. All this is customizable and managed by the production team. Now again, lighting is very key. Again, making sure that you want to look good in front of camera and your slides are visible to your audiences. Now lastly, of course, behind all this is not just the production team, but our event management team that actually helps you manage the entire event, from not just set design, but looking at your webinar topics, identifying speakers, and audience engagements. So as you can see from here, this showcases the many possible functions and elements of a virtual event. Now what you're seeing on screen is the wonders of my production team, with me standing in a green screen studio to having me onto any 3D virtual set possible. Now this is what we call turning your imagination into reality. So ladies and gentlemen, these are the key factors as to why we at the Activation Group is able to bring your events onto the virtual world. Strategic planning and project management is key, of course. We can help plan your topics, identify key relevant speakers, and even help with their talking points. Manage your invitees, engage the audiences with the Q&A and polling, and lastly, of course, provide you with an analytical report at the end of the webinar. Customized 3D virtual set design. Of course, I stress that going virtual meant you can have any virtual set design. Not just that, but your landing page design, key visuals, polling and Q&A forms, and even your EDM can be customized. Of course, wide audience engagement, scaling your audiences from 10 packs right up to over 500 packs per session. And multiple concurrent sessions, creating multiple concurrent sessions via virtual breakout rooms, which means you can have limitless number of packs in each breakout sessions. And of course, convenience anytime, anywhere. The flexibility of having multiple speakers calling in from anywhere globally. Hi guys, welcome back. So earlier, we talked about 3D virtual hybrid events. Now that's not the only virtual innovation that's available at the Activation Group. Because during the lockdown, we also developed a new digital solution called Engage. Now I'm here with Chris, who will be sharing more about this new solution. So Chris, I'm a bit curious, what's Engage all about?
Hey Ed, yeah, thanks. Well, we're very excited about Engage as well. But before I go on, can I just check with you, do you shop online?
Oh, definitely. I buy quite a fair bit of stuff online, and so does my wife.
So you're a big online shopping fan?
Yeah, actually, I used to do it occasionally for convenience, but now because of the pandemic, so I'm forced to buy more things online and kind of like gotten used to it.
Yep, haven't we all? But how is the experience so far though? Any challenges when you make your purchases online?
Well, it's generally pretty okay. Occasionally, there are some challenges. You know, if I had some questions about a product, you know, it will take some time to get an answer. Because most of the time, there isn't a chat feature, so I need to go online, search for it, Google for it, or go onto their website for it, or sometimes I need to send them an email. But that would then mean they won't be able to reply me instantly, and then I can't buy it there and then.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Been there too. You mentioned chat earlier. Is this a feature that you've actually actively used before on a website?
Yes, I have, of course.
Okay, so does it work for you then?
Well, it does, most of the time. Well, like I said, it's not an actual person, it's an automated response. Now, which is okay for straightforward question and answers, but when it comes to situation where I really need some clarity or suggestions, then I still miss walking into the store and actually talking to a real person. Now, I'll give you an example. So recently, I celebrated my wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. But then again, therein lies the problem. I didn't know what to buy for my wife. So I thought jewelry would be the best. So I went online to a jewelry site, and lo and behold, I got bombarded with loads and loads of choices and options. Now, I really didn't know where to start. It would have been good if there was an online assistant or sales assistant to help me.
Exactly. So pause there. Thank you for bringing this up. This is why we have actually put together this service. You know, and where we come in. This is how we fit in. Here at Engage, what we've done is we've put together the people and the platform so that your brand can have meaningful conversations with your customers.
So this is not just a chatbot service.
No, sir. No, sir. It is an actual person having an actual real-time conversation with your customers. So the overall landscape right now has changed. I'm sure you've noticed with the current situation. Focus has basically shifted from the offline store, which is your physical stores, to online stores. Right? Speaking of which, have a look at this. So even though we've moved into phase 2, I think we can agree most people, gotten used to the idea of buying things online, right?
Yep.
More and more customers are starting to purchase online, and it's just going to continue growing. So what's going to happen now is we're going to lose this opportunity to communicate and keep them engaged because we're losing out on that human interaction.
Yep.
Right? It's not enough as a brand just to have a website now. A beautiful website is great, but that's just not enough on its own. We need to provide our customers with the option to reach out and communicate with us. So this is going to be the new norm, and I think again we will agree, or we can agree, that it's not going to go back to how it used to be. Yeah, people are going to continue staying online. So what we are trying to do here, right, is we are trying to allow our customers to enjoy the same level of service and support, or at least close to it, of what they used to get when they walked into a store before.
Right, so what you're actually saying is literally providing that live engagement touchpoints for consumers on a brand's website, or say for instance on any e-commerce site.
Yes, exactly. That's what we're talking about. You've hit the, the nail right on the head. We want to help businesses, small or big, stay connected to their customers. We will provide the software or the widget, as we'd like to call it, so customers can reach out either through messaging, video, or even voice calls. Okay? We will then also provide the people, to support this service for them. So we're talking about having an actual person available to provide product information, comparisons where it's applicable, guidance on purchasing. There's even a function where we can co-browse with the customer and help them navigate through the website and navigate through their purchases.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting, Chris.
It is.
Why don't you demonstrate it and let's see how it works?
For sure. Let's have a look. We'll put the widget on your website naturally, and this is how the widget will actually appear on your site.
Right.
Of course, it's fully customizable, so you can change the shape, color, even include a logo of your company if you want. But using this widget is how your customers will actually initiate the conversation, whether through messaging, voice, or even video. Let me just do a demo for you here. If you click on the widget, what's going to happen is going to open up a dialog box. Yes, and then you just type in the message or your inquiry. And so what's happened now, it's engaged, initiated a conversation, and we just need to wait for a live agent to respond.
Oh, it's happening real time. I see it now.
Yep,
Hey.
here we go. Okay, yep, let's do that. Let's do a video call. And you see those icons up there?
Yes.
So once the call is initiated, we can actually initiate. Oh yeah. So
there you go.
So we just click that.
Hey Chris, thanks for dropping by again.
Hey.
No problem.
How do you like the mask that you got from us previously?
It's very good actually. Thank you for the recommendation.
I hope
you're
it helps
getting
you
more.
to breathe easier while you're working out at the gym.
It has. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great. Good. That was just a simple illustration of how the service would look like. In real life, it would be a much better looking online BA. So on a more serious note, digital channels have been around for around 2 decades. With COVID-19, it has thrust digital from a supporting role into the main lead. As an example, brands such as Zara, H&M, Gap, Victoria's Secret have all announced store closures and expanding into e-commerce. Closer to home, in the month of June, online sales jumped 151.2% year-on-year, according to UOB economist Barnabas Gan. Ed, let's assume you went to a Nike or Adidas store. What happens if you needed help?
Well, naturally, I'll look for a sales assistant.
And what if I told you that there is none, and you can only type your query into a touchscreen panel or speak to a robot? Look, I'm all for tech and innovation, but I guess nothing beats a human touch, and we believe that this applies as well in the digital world.
Yeah, this sounds great, but in this climate, what's most important now is companies. Now, what's most important to them is sales.
No, I agree, definitely. But so I guess Engage addresses 3 key areas: sales, marketing, customer service, for example. So in the area of sales, our technology allows us to keep track of all interactions with Chris, for example, previously, including his browsing history and preferences. This empowers the online BA to upsell or link sell products like a matching gym training shirt to go along with his mask. In the area of marketing, similarly, the marketing team can extract this customer information and push relevant promotions or product launches into Chris. When it comes to customer service, we can actually set up appointments for Chris to visit the physical store and incentivize him to do so. Collectively, the above contributes to an overall positive online experience for the customer. This encourages repeat traffic, referrals, and ultimately sales.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for that. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the human touch in the digital world.
Well, that concludes our webinar for today. We would like to thank all of you for your attendance. Now, the Activation Group is offering a free brand consultation service. You'll see a pop-up on your screen to opt in for this, or copy and paste the link below on your screen to your browser and sign up today. Now, for those of you who had more questions earlier, we will reply to you directly after this, so do look out for our emails. Once again, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again. Stay tuned to our Facebook and LinkedIn pages for more of our webinar series. This is Edmond from the Activation Group signing off now. Bye, everyone.